Charles Robinson
right.
from Yahoo Sports. You pod to win the game. Kind enough. You got me, Charles? We got you?
Yeah, you got me.
Okay. Kind enough to join us from New Orleans. He's on the road for the Super Bowl. So en route to Mobile, my man made some time to join Brother from Another. That's brotherly love right there. Speaking of brotherly love, Mike, let's say I had a bad weekend on the prediction front.
Wow, what happened?
I mean,
what happened? That San Francisco game?
I'm not even gonna make excuses.
No excuses? Thank you.
I'm not. No, I'm not, because the other quarterback must go down. He must go down hard. Like, you knock out the other quarterback. Shout out to Hassan Reddick. That's his job, is to punish the other quarterback and get the Niners to play with their fourth quarterback. Okay, the Eagles are a complete team. I mean, they have and they built, and Charles, they're built in the old school fashion. They have a dominant offensive line and a dominant defensive line. That's to say nothing of their skill position and the rest of the perimeter players, and obviously their quarterback. But they are so good up front on both sides of the ball. They're the best team in the league this year for a reason. Your thoughts on that game and your early thoughts on the Super Bowl matchup?
I think we got robbed. I think it could have been a great game. Unfortunately, we watched Brock Purdy suffer that injury early in the first. No. Listen, Charles. I don't. George Kittle straight up said it. He was like, "Look, when we got to the point where we didn't have a quarterback who could throw the ball,"
he said it.
He said we had Michael. He said we had 15 plays, 15 plays in the playbook. Now, that's 15 total plays. That doesn't mean situationally. Situationally, now, because you don't have a quarterback who can throw, you might have two on any given play. It was over. It was done. It was over. The second,
kind of hard to play without a quarterback.
Yes, the second Purdy went down, with all due respect to Josh Johnson, I was like, there's going to be slippage. Just watch. It was 7-7. McCaffrey had that crazy run for the touchdown, but I was like, just give it enough time. The Eagles are going to wear this down, and then mistakes will start to happen. It doesn't. I'm not saying that San Francisco would have won this game. I'm not saying that Brock Purdy would have balled out, and we would have been looking at San Francisco Super Bowl. But
they would have got curb stomped.
We would have had a better game. Okay,
they wouldn't have got curb stomped. Like he made a difference. Michael don't think.
Stop it.
Michael thinks Brock Purdy was just along for the ride anyway. Charles, Michael doesn't think there's much of a difference between Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson. That's the problem. He thinks Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson are the same person.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I do. I'm so tired. I got robbed. Okay, you think the San Francisco thinks it got robbed because Brock Purdy went out of the game? I got robbed because I wanted to see the beatdown so the excuses wouldn't happen after the game. But here it is. I knew I was going to have to deal with this.
Neither one of us are making excuses.
Oh, yes, you are. Yes, you are.
There they go.
And George Kittle. It's a shame. It's a shame we have to lose our quarterback. It's a shame this happened. San Francisco, is there something about Bay Area football? Like the Raiders used to do this under Al Davis. Raiders used to do this. Oh, the Tuck rule. Oh, this. Oh, the league is against me. It's because I sued the league. That's why I'm not getting the benefit of the doubt. Now, San Francisco, if we had Jimmy Garoppolo, if we had Trey Lance, if we had Steve Young, if we had Joe Montana, sit your ass down. Go back to San Francisco.
Charles, did you not clearly say, I'm not saying San Francisco would have won. It would have just been a better game. That's all you said, right, Charles?
Oh, no. It wouldn't have been a better game. Got robbed. This game was robbed of a good game. That's it. We got robbed of it. It's bizarre. We got
robbed of a good game when the Niners got on the flight.
It's bizarre.
When the Niners got on the flight to go to Philadelphia.
It's bizarre.
When the Niners got on the flight, it was going to be a bad game for them.
Someone could cover football for so long, write books about a franchise that had the most significant dynasty of our lifetime, and yet sit there and go, yeah, I know that guy suffered an elbow injury. Maybe he's done for a year. Maybe that guy needs Tommy John surgery. And yeah, they were down to their fourth quarterback. And yeah, then they were down to just the running back who had plays strapped to his arm. But I mean, that doesn't matter. I mean, come on, man. What are you even talking about?
It matters, Charles. But come on, man. Philadelphia was the best team in football all year long. They were the best team in football
24
all
points
year.
better than San Francisco. They're not 24 points better than San Francisco. No.
I don't know that.
Man.
I don't know
exactly.
that. I know it.
We'll never know. Because the quarterback got knocked out.
Fly.
Look,
I'm so glad
I got
they
a gift
lost.
for you.
I don't care. Thank you.
I'll give this to you in
Give it to
Arizona.
me.
This for you. I'll give this to you in Arizona.
I'm gonna rock it all week. All week.
So Charles,
unless Ted Cruz wants to give me some.
I have never heard
some Kansas City swag.
I've never heard somebody gloat so much when a team literally was like, "Hey, you know what? They can't do anything to run the ball. Let's go ahead and rotate in 6 defensive linemen, knowing that they can't do it for an entire half." And look, the Eagles are. I mean, they're bad as hell. Like, look, they're number 1 seed for a reason. Like, this is going to be a great Super Bowl.
Right.
It's going to be amazing. But you cannot sit there and say that game was reflective of what it would have been if the 49ers had a full suite of offense. What are we talking about, man?
Here's the great thing.
It's confirmation bias.
Charles.
It's confirmation bias.
I was going to say,
Charles,
it's just the great thing, Charles.
Turned out to be right. He turned out to be right thanks to a catastrophic injury, and now he's like, "I told you they were gonna beat the shit out of him. I told you they would have been."
See, that's the funny thing, Charles. You're such a respected journalist. Michigan State is proud of you. Michigan is proud of you. So you're going by logic. So when you say you can't sit there and say San Francisco is 24 points worse than Philadelphia, except I can.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, look, it's your show.
Because that's what happens.
Say whatever you
want.
want.
This is no. It ain't about me. It's what the scoreboard says.
Scoreboard.
Hey, 31-7. I don't know. Yeah. Hey, listen. What? I ain't watched the game. What happened? 31-7. Oh, okay. That must be it.
But in all seriousness, that's not Philly's fault. Philly is taking nothing away from Philly. Give them all the credit in the world.
Exactly.
Like that's the game. It happens. Now, Charles, spinning it forward for San Francisco, we certainly got all week and all next week to talk more about the matchup. But I had taken the liberty of anointing Brock Purdy as the 49ers' new franchise quarterback after start number 1. I think you were with us the day after. Now he's, like you said, he may need surgery on his elbow. I don't know if you know what the latest is there. I know they would test on that nerve ligament. Nothing yet. Okay. What do the 49ers do at quarterback? Because a lot of people are still trying to put Tom Brady in San Francisco, and I'm like, nah, this is Brock Purdy's team. But is Brock Purdy going to be available? What do they do with Trey Lance? So on and so forth.
First thing you have to answer, what's going on with Purdy? So they're getting the MRI done. We're going to know today. I mean, we've never seen a quarterback get Tommy John surgery. We don't know what this ligament damage potentially could look like. When a guy says, basically, I can't grip the ball, I can't throw 5 yards, it's probably indicative of something pretty bad. Now, let's wait and see. If it's the kind of injury where he's potentially jeopardized for the 2023 season, okay, I think let's wait and see now how this all develops, because I don't want to keep bringing Brady up, but when I was in San Francisco last week, and I passed by that kind of giant maintenance sort of room where Brady had stopped and started taking pictures of all the 49ers on the wall, it just kind of struck me that it was an unusual thing for Tom Brady to do. I know it was his childhood franchise and all these things, but right now, Tom Brady's options, what I think is going on in Tom Brady's mind is he has to figure out, do I want to go back to Tampa with some changes, or do I want to retire? And then after that, is there any other option that I'm really interested in? And the only other option I could think of that he would really be interested in is if Kyle Shanahan said, we're going to be without Purdy in 2023. I can tell you, people are not going to like to hear this, but I'm telling you, their confidence in Trey Lance is not high. And they're going to deny that, and they're going to say publicly that's just not true. I am just telling you, they have no idea if Purdy's out in 2023, if they have a viable quarterback in Trey Lance. And I think if Tom Brady was receptive, that would have to be a conversation that would be had in that franchise.
Well, all right. So we didn't talk about this on the show. None of us have together. Rand Carthon is the new general manager in Tennessee. We know Tannehill is 35 years old. And when Carthon was announced as GM, Trey Lance, I think, went on Instagram and had to cross fingers, like, oh, please. And it was interpreted as, hey, come get me. Do you think something like that can happen? If not in Tennessee, could he be moved somewhere else? And is there are there other general managers who look at him and say, yeah, I had him rated highly. He's our guy.
Now, younger folks were telling me that older folks had this wrong, but that's actually a sign with younger folks, sort of like good luck. I don't know if that's true or not. That's not how I interpret it. I interpreted it sort of like, hey,
good luck.
I didn't interpret it that way. But again, I'm 45, so I don't know.
We old, though.
It's like younger people, man. Their emojis don't mean the same thing that the emojis mean to me. But that said, here's my question for Trey Lance, and I think this is the question everyone has to ask now. What is he worth? What could you trade him for? Not much. I talked to a couple GMs last week, okay, and I was like, and it was after, the Rand Carthon move and everything, and like, hey, if Purdy, let's say he takes him to a Super Bowl and he locks this job, what do you do with Trey Lance? And the response I got was like, what do you trade for him? You don't know if he's even a viable starting quarterback. We don't care what the draft capital was that they gave up. And I said, well, what about Sam Darnold? I said, what about what Darnold ultimately got when the Jets traded him to Carolina? They said, no, Darnold had started. You knew what he was. You kind of understood he can be a starter, not a good starter in the league, but you knew he could be. Nobody knows if Trey Lance can even be a starter.
That's interesting, though. That's interesting. But you know what's interesting about that? And I want to get to one more thing before we take a break and bring you back. I see it differently. I'm not a GM. Maybe that's why I'm here and they're there. But, like, isn't that the nature of the draft is the unknown makes them more attractive? Like, you don't know what they are. With Sam Darnold, some would say, yeah, we know what he is, which is not good, right?
Okay,
but somebody traded for it. Whereas with Trey, he's not that far removed from college.
Mike,
it's interesting how people could twist that how they want.
But it's not a total unknown. They have seen some of him, okay? They've seen some of the limitations.
Less of what they saw with Sam Darnold, which is why your Sam Darnold was a good comparison.
How many games did Sam Darnold play in the previous 3 years before Carolina acquired him? How much football did he play?
Quite a bit.
A lot. Yeah. How much?
Yeah, but what did it look like? It was a lot of football. How'd that look? Let's put a grade on it. Like it's more football than Trey Lance, but probably the same grade.
All I'm saying, Charles, is if it's what you want to make it. If somebody, speaking of confirmation bias, if somebody didn't think highly of Trey Lance because he barely played in college and he came from a smaller school and they didn't really think he was that good to begin with, then they're going to be like, what is he? I'm not giving anything for him. But if you think that, wait a minute, this is a big, physical, athletic guy who's barely played, we don't know what he is, that unknown is oftentimes attractive, which is why people trade up in drafts for people. Because they're like, we're so intrigued by the possibilities.
If the Niners will take a third, okay, I could see there being interest. If they would take a third. Now you ask yourself, if you're the Niners, what's the upside then if we take a third? Like, we might as well keep them in-house and see if the ceiling, is a third really worth giving up the ceiling? That's the problem. That's the quandary here right now, is that I don't know that they'll get more than a third-round pick. Yeah, maybe.
That's a damn nice suit, Rand. Maybe he was complimenting the suit. Like that's
it.
But you're right.
That's a tight.
It's unanimous. That was all, hey, come get me. That wasn't come get me. That was good luck. All right, whatever y'all say. Charles, as a Michigan State alum, you'll appreciate this. I got kind of carried away with, saying it was Joe Burrow's world when Patrick Mahomes is still living in it and still going to Super Bowls and whatnot. It's Magic and Bird. It's Magic and Bird. They're going to get the better of each other. They're going to take turns, running the AFC. Sorry, Josh Allen. So this was Patrick's time. This was Patrick's turn. Where do the Bengals, though, go from here? A lot of free agents. Lou Anarumo, their defensive coordinator, getting some love. We'll see if he gets a job. Will the Bengals be able to keep this band together? Because I know Mike will remember this. We talked to Carson Palmer at the Super Bowl last year. We may see him again this year. And, he got a lot of flack in Cincinnati for saying, will Mike Brown open up his pocketbook to keep the supporting cast? And not just the supporting cast in terms of the talent, but the infrastructure needed to sustain this success. We talked on this show about they're going to have to set a record and set a precedent probably for Joe Burrow's contract. Can the Bengals keep this together the way that the Chiefs and Andy Reid and their organization have?
Well, okay, so it kind of depends on how the contract comes in, right? So they're going to start the heavy lifting this offseason with the contract extension. And if it is a tack-on contract extension, it gives you the window's a little bit longer. It's not going to be great, but the money hits pretty quickly. And so it's just, now you have to start to figure out down the line, we've got 2 number 1 receivers. What are we going to do financially for these 2 guys? We have a running back in Joe Mixon. Where does he fit long term? I think first and foremost, look, you just retain as much talent as you possibly can, get the line where it needs to be for 2023, because I still think we're a year away from really, really having to worry about how bad this could get for them. And I'm worried about the Joe Burrow contract, absolutely, because I think when I look at both he and Jalen Hurts, those are going to be really difficult contracts to do this year for different reasons. I mean, Philadelphia, Hurts he's not 100% right now, but this is a guy who, if he leads them to a Super Bowl, I don't know how a contract extension, the contract extension talks this offseason don't start with a 5 in terms of APY. We're talking $50 million a year. For Jalen Hurts. We're talking $50 million a year for Joe Burrow. I think it's easier for Philadelphia to do that kind of deal because they've done these massive quarterback deals in the past. The last one they didn't work out, Carson Wentz, but it was the right decision at the time. I think Howie Roseman, the general manager there, knows and is willing to commit to the right decision at the right time. We'll see how Hurts finishes this out, but I don't think there's a fear element there from Jeffrey Lurie, the owner. Then you look at Mike Brown, the Bengals. I don't know. I just don't know. He's already made comments about the Patrick Mahomes deal, which Mahomes did a favorable 10-year deal with Kansas City that, ultimately in the long run, he'll probably have left $100 million on the table, maybe more, over the length of that deal, $200 million. Who knows? I don't know that Joe Burrow is going to be willing to do that kind of a deal, but we're going to learn something about both Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts, sort of like we learned something about Patrick Mahomes when he did that deal. Because when Mahomes did his deal, I was stunned. And I think a lot of agents were really disappointed because they thought this is a guy he could do a cap percentage tie to his deal. He could be the guy who resets everything early. He could be the first $50 million guy, and he didn't do that. And Mahomes said the reason he didn't do it was because he wanted to be able to build a team out over the next 10 years around him. That's unique. I don't know that other guys necessarily want to do that, and I would never, ever tell a guy he shouldn't do that. I think you got to make the personal decision for yourself. And look, Hurts and Burrow, I'm just telling you that where they're positioned now, it's going to be huge money, and it could be sticky like the Lamar Jackson situation in Baltimore.
All right, so I want to ask you this quickly, Charles. Michael has said that this is Magic and Bird between Burrow and Mahomes, which suggests that they go back and forth. I think Magic had 5 and Bird had 3 titles, and they used to just knock heads all the time in the 80s in the NBA Finals. Do you agree with that? Because I want to point out, if I gave you my top 3 quarterbacks, they're all in the AFC. Mahomes is on the list, Burrow's on the list, but so is Josh Allen.
Yep.
Have we too quickly moved on from maybe it's Bird, Magic, and one
Isaiah?
More player. And Isaiah. You know what I mean?
Shout out to Detroit.
One more.
Charles, come on. Where you at, Charles?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me give you. Okay, I can play this game. I grew up in 80s, 90s basketball, so I can make this comparison. So I will give you Mahomes and Burrow, Bird and Magic. I will say Trevor Lawrence is Isaiah, and I will say that Josh Allen is Dominique Wilkins.
Ooh,
human highlight film.
Wait a minute,
and
I love Nick. I love Nick, but wait a minute. But Nick never got to the conference. He never got to the conference.
But Trevor Lawrence
finals.
is going to be the one to put him out to pasture, is what you're saying. Trevor Lawrence is going to end this reign, is what you're saying. He's coming.
And
he's going to be the one.
And then you have Herbert, who's the other, is Herbert Reggie Miller?
Marcus Johnson.
Marcus Johnson. Okay, let's go on back
Sidney
a little
Moncrief.
bit. Yeah.
The same era, right there. We're standing there.
Yeah, same era. Yeah, we're in there. But who's that's the thing is you have to, you look at that era, and I think football has some comparisons. We saw it with Brady. There's a number of look, Phillip Rivers forever couldn't get a title, and it had to do with being in the same era as Peyton Manning. It had to, Tom Brady. So who amongst this group? So we're talking about Burrow, we're talking about Mahomes, we're talking about Herbert, we're talking about Trevor Lawrence, we're talking about Josh Allen. That's 5 already, 5 guys. And I'll bet you I'm leaving somebody out. I can't think of who it is, but I think I'm leaving somebody out already. Where you're like, there's just not enough titles to go around. Some people are going to have a hard, and this is where the organization comes in. That's what's scary about this is which organization can figure out how to be the conduit to winning titles. Because if you can't build a team around them, they can be, you do box score scouting, and they'll put up stats like crazy, and they'll finish their career like Phillip Rivers with insane numbers, but you'll go, where are the titles? It's going to happen to somebody.
Yo, man, thank you so much for posting up in New Orleans. Enjoy the city. Stop by Parkway Cafe. Or you can go anywhere if you want, but stop by Parkway, grab your poor boy, hit the road to Mobile. That used to be our old stomping grounds, Charles. I'm going to get back out on the road with you, dog, and hang out at the Senior Bowl.
I'm looking forward to it. We had
a time. And the Combine. I mean, we grew up in those parts, man. So enjoy yourself. But thanks for spending some time with us. We always enjoy having you.
Thank you, Charles.
Michael Holley and I are going to fight when I see him at the Super Bowl over this Brock Purdy stuff. We're going to fight when I see you.
Yeah, you going to fight with him over Brock Purdy. I've been having to deal. Listen, I've been getting it worse than you.
Man. Nothing to fight over now. Let's talk about the players who were playing in the game. I'm not talking about Brock Purdy or the Niners. Let's focus on the people who are there.
Oh, really?
Thank you, Charles.
Take it easy, guys.
Somebody wouldn't have made a difference. Josh Johnson playing.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.